'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. Yes, we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
What's up, Dolphins? The Dolphins win 20-3 over the Cleveland Browns, and there's a lot of storylines pertaining to this game that we need to discuss. But first of all, shout out to Ungar to the Max, Browns YouTuber I collabed with to do a stream before this game, giving our predictions and thoughts on the matchup. Go check him out if you're a Browns fan. He's an awesome YouTuber. And I am sorry to everyone who watched the stream and had to deal with my internet issues. Spectrum can be a bitch sometimes. But aside from that, I think it was a great collab. Now, Tyler Huntley was the quarterback that started this game because Tua is out with a hip injury. Now, the Dolphins have said that it is the same hip that he injured when he was in Alabama, but it's a different part of the hip. So, I don't really know how we should take that. Supposedly, he's been playing injured for a couple weeks, and he actually got injured in the Texans game. So I don't know why all of a sudden he isn't able to play in this game when our playoff chances have increased over the other games when we thought we were just out and our chances were very slim. But at this point going into this game, our chances were actually pretty darn good because right before this game started, the Giants did us a huge favor and knocked out the Colts from playoff contention. The Colts, we needed them to lose at least one game, and I was not very hopeful on that as they had the Giants and the Jags to play. But the Giants did us a huge favor. They put 45 on the Colts, which is absolutely insane. So after this game, we have only two things that need to happen. We need to beat the Jets. And the Chiefs need to beat the Broncos. So, beating the Jets, I think it's really going to depend on if Tua is back or not. Huntley, he played absolutely amazing in this game. Don't get me wrong. What was the big problem for the Dolphins in this game was penalties. Oh my God, there were so many penalties on the Dolphins. It was absolutely ridiculous. It seems like anytime Tua is out, the rest of the team just cannot get the snaps right. And I realize a different quarterback has a different cadence, and it's going to be a little difficult, but every single time, the penalties just increase tenfold. And yeah, that is a big problem. But if Tua's back, I think we have a much better chance of beating the Jets. No disrespect to Huntley, but, we weren't playing very well with him in the lineup. And yes, the team does play better under Tua. And the Jets have never beaten Tua. But at the end of the day, whoever's behind center, we got to clean up these mistakes going into that Jets game. And then you have the other side of what needs to happen, and the Broncos need to lose to the Chiefs. Now, normally that would be an easy thing to do because the Broncos can never beat Kansas City except for that one time last year somehow. But the problem is Kansas City's not going to have their starters play the full game. They're not going to rest them for the full game either. Don't get me wrong on that. I know a lot of people are saying that, but the last game that their starters all played in, the last game the Chiefs played was on Christmas Day. And if you're going to go from Christmas Day to the third week in January without playing a game, that's almost an entire month going from not playing to playing in a playoff game. I highly, highly doubt the Chiefs are going to do that. They're going to play their starters for at least a little bit of the game. So, with all that being said, we still have a chance to make the playoffs. Your only possible opponent in the playoffs is the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be quite the stressful game, and I know most of us are not going to have much expectation going into that game if we do make it, including myself. There are two sides of my brain thinking about this potential playoff matchup. On one side, you have the hopeful fan in me that's like, it's a divisional game. Divisional games tend to be tougher. We played the Bills really close. They had to have a kick of God to beat us earlier this year at home. It's possible. And then there's the other side of me, who's the hurt Dolphins fan that's like, we can't win in Buffalo. We can't beat good teams on the road, especially in colder weather. And it's going to be Buffalo in January. I live out near Buffalo, and it's very warm right now, but it's not going to stay that way. It's probably going to be a slaughterfest if that happens. But, if you don't make the playoffs, you don't have a chance. I've been fighting with myself over this the entire time. But we'll have to see. Other things with this game, there's not too much to say other than the Browns are terrible. Like, you didn't really beat up a good team here. And, you got 2 touchdowns. Huntley running in for that touchdown, that was really nice. The Browns turned it over on downs a couple times. Yeah, there's not too much to say. Browns were not good. Dolphins were not great, but they were good enough to win by 17. So, going into the Jets game next week, it's a must-win, or else, well, you're out. And the Jets, yes, they're fighting for not playoff seating, for draft order. But the players, they're going to want to ruin a division rival season. Maybe upper management is like, hey, maybe we'll lose. But, yeah, the players are not going to want Miami to make the playoffs. So, a lot of things to watch for next week. We're going to have to see what happens. Blessed be, fins up.